All right, the NFL trade deadline is right around the corner, and there's this one proposal making the rounds that could be an absolute game changer for a Super Bowl contender. Today, we're going to break down the so-called best deal that could totally transform the Green Bay Packers defense. So you got to ask yourself, for a team that already looks pretty darn good, what's that one move? What's the one thing they could do that would truly supercharge their defense and maybe, just maybe, put them over the top? Well, the answer might just be shoring up one very specific, very vulnerable spot.
Okay, so before we even get into the trade itself, we first have to understand where the Packers are at right now. As a team, what's their mindset?
Look, the Packers are in a fantastic spot. They aren't rebuilding, they're winning, and that makes them definite buyers at the deadline. They're not thinking about a rebuild 5 years down the road. No, they're looking for guys who can step in and help them win right now and make a serious run deep into the playoffs.
So if you're the Packers and you're out there shopping, where's the biggest hole? Well, it points to a potential weak link in an otherwise pretty stout defense, the secondary.
Now, don't get me wrong, the starters, they've been solid, but you look behind them at the depth chart, and that's where you might start to get a little nervous. There's a pretty big drop-off when it comes to experience and proven talent.
And here's where it gets kind of scary. One of their main depth guys on the outside, Bo Melton, has literally never played a single professional snap at cornerback. Not one. I mean, that is a massive, massive gamble if one of your top guys goes down with an injury during a championship push.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Vinny Iyer over at the Sporting News pointed this exact thing out, calling the Packers vulnerable on the back end. That right there tells you this isn't just fan cheddar. It's a real, legitimate concern for a team that wants a ring.
All right, so we've identified the problem. What's the solution? Well, this brings us to that best deal we were talking about, a move that could solve this exact problem.
Well, Vinny Iyer has an idea. Go out and get Seattle Seahawks Pro Bowl corner Rick Woolen. The whole strategy here is to buy low on a guy who we know has an incredibly high ceiling. And listen, this isn't just some fantasy football proposal cooked up on a message board. There are actual reports swirling. You've got guys like Jeremy Fowler over at ESPN reporting that Woolen is a legit candidate to be moved, meaning he's a very realistic target.
Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting. Because to understand why a Pro Bowl cornerback is even available, you have to wrap your head around what I'm calling the Rick Woolen paradox. First, let's just rewind the clock to 2022. As a rookie, this guy was an absolute monster, a Pro Bowler. He looked like he was going to be the next big thing for the Seahawks, a future superstar. The talent is undeniable.
Okay, now, fast forward to this season. His Pro Football Focus grade? A jaw-dropping 48.3. I mean, that's a free fall. And that shocking nosedive is the #1 reason a player this talented is even being talked about in trade rumors.
And to put that number into perspective for you, that 48.3 grade ranks him 101 first out of 112 cornerbacks in the league this season. You see that? And you just have to ask, what in the world happened here?
So if you're the Packers, what are you looking at? Is this a diamond in the rough, a reclamation project, or is he just damaged goods? This gets us right to the heart of it, the risk versus the reward. You know, it seems like a perfect storm of reasons why a guy this talented is even on the block. You've got his slump, yeah, but also reports of contract issues with the team, plus some major coaching and scheme changes on that Seattle defense. It all kind of points to a really talented player who might just need a change of scenery to get back on track.
But here's the absolute kicker, the price tag. Because his stock is so low right now, the talk is that it would only cost a day 3 pick in 2026. I mean, for a 26-year-old with a Pro Bowl already under his belt, that's practically a steal. So let's just lay it all out, right? On one side, you've got the risk. The slump is real, there are those contract questions, it's not a sure thing. But on the other side, the reward is massive. You're getting a player with a proven Pro Bowl pedigree for next to nothing. It is the textbook definition of a low-risk, high-reward flyer. And you got to remember who we're talking about here. This is Green Bay. This is a franchise that knows how to coach up defensive backs. I mean, look no further than their current CB1, Kayshawn Nixon. They literally took an undrafted return guy and turned him into a legit starting corner. They have a track record.
So it all boils down to this one question. For a team that is this close to being a true Super Bowl favorite, is taking a cheap flyer on a guy with elite Pro Bowl level talent the last piece of that championship puzzle? It's a really fascinating gamble, and hey, one we might actually see them take.